Kim, for making it happen.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'll start real quick, Chelsea, and then I'll throw it over to you. You guys, the thing I just am really feeling like I want to say is that this is a hard, weird time, and it looks different for everybody. And I think sometimes we feel like, you know, you've got to be super productive and work 8 hours, and it's great to be super productive, and I think we need to be as productive as we can, but I'm telling you, this is a weird time, and it's affecting people's lives in weird ways. The first 2 weeks I was sick. I think I probably had it, a very mild case, but I was sick, plus I'm dealing with elderly parents who were in quarantine. I haven't seen them in over a month, and literally the first week, all I did was clean my desk, and it didn't even take. So I feel like now I'm kind of catching my stride, and I'm getting to a point where I'm kind of falling into a routine. So my big thing is do what you can. I mean, there were days when all I felt like doing was sitting and staring. And I was like, what in the hell is wrong with me? But then I thought, well, you know, I don't know, it's a global pandemic, and perhaps it's being kind of weird with my brain. So during those times, what I was doing was I was finding something that felt productive, but didn't necessarily take a whole lot of brain that I didn't have. So at that point, I was like, I'd clean a closet, or I'd clean a drawer, or something like that. The real estate equivalent, which is probably more productive for our jobs, would be like cleaning out your database. So my big thing right now is have 2 projects you're working on, maybe. One that takes a little more brain, and one that's pretty mindless. Like, if you're if you're like, yay, I got this. This is like, I'm an introvert and I'm home alone and I can do all this. If you're firing on all cylinders, go for it. But if you're homeschooling, if you're dealing with elderly parents, if you're sick, if whatever, like, have projects that don't require that much brain. Like, database is perfect for that. Creating your database, sifting your database, you know, getting the dead weight out of your database, adding categories to your database. Another project that I want to do if I get done with my current projects is find out your clients' birthdays. You can sign into one of those like PIPL or one of those people finder things. You can pay $20 for a month and you can find out stuff that you should not know about people. But you can definitely find out everybody's birthday, and then you can either, you know, put it in your calendar and make a note to call them, or you can go to send out cards and set up a full account where they get a card handwritten in your little handwriting, stuff like that. So that was just the one thing I wanted to be sure to get out, like right on top. Like, cut yourself some slack if you're struggling. I mean, if you're not struggling, then go work 12 hours. It's awesome. But you know, if you're having a hard time, find ways to make it work. Find projects that you can do that, so you're not just sitting around like eating ice cream and feeling guilty that you're doing nothing. That's my soapbox. Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, all the same things. I'm struggling because I'm a huge busybody. So I got to add homeschooling to my list. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So which is, I'm not a homeschool mom. I'm struggling with that. I'm really lucky. I was actually homeschooled through 8th grade, and my mom doesn't live too far away. And so she's been coming over every morning and helping me, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's hard because like I want to be out showings. I want to be physically with people. And then we've had to make this shift, right, into like virtual tours and videos. But like now we can't even get photographers to properties.
Are you having that? I hadn't tried yet. Are you not being? Oh,
yeah, so I have 3 flip homes right now, and I have 2 of them that hit the market like 10 days ago. And the last one that we filmed, he was like, I can't, they're gonna like find me, I can't come out anymore. So I just squeaked it in because there was that email, I think some Kim or Heidi saying, yeah, it has to be left up between the seller and the photographer. So luckily I was the seller, and I'm like, get out here right now, I need to market this home. But yeah, it's just been really odd, and being okay with the slowdown has not been okay for me. But then I feel like this is going to help propel a different type of market. So now different strategies on how we're going to start listing when this is all over. Because now as listing agents, now we not only can just do photos and throw it up on the MLS, but I feel like people are going to expect the 3D tours, the video walkthroughs, so now we're about to have to spend a lot more money on our listings and marketing, but it's a positive thing because people have all the information or most of the information they need prior to touring the home, which I think would be good. I think we're trying to follow suit with what builders are doing because builders have such fantastic marketing plans in place, like area, what's around in the area, the great just video walkthroughs, Matterports, etc. So just the marketing's going to change. And with the slowdown, organizing a lot, working on your CRM systems. And I just really think when this is over, it's going to be really, really busy. So like be okay with
your other participant. Alert, you are using the computer audio. Nope. Alert, you are in the
Is that my computer?
/maximize. Participants.
Am I alerting everyone?
Audio is unmuted. Your video is off. The is being recorded. Good. Currently muted. Alert, video now started. Alert.
Is that mine? Am I on now?
You're on, darling.
Okay. Sorry, was I unmuted there?
Yeah, and we,
Okay.
Chelsey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we do have a couple of questions
Okay.
coming up in the chat here. And guys, just feel free to put over there in the chat if you have somebody that is, that will go ahead and go out for photography. I think Josh Dravel does. I've been seeing some of his. It's DROVDAL. I think he still is. I think Virtuance is still going out. So I think it's a matter of sharing who is going out. Natalie Corrado asked, do you have a favorite company who does quarterly, biannual greeting cards? Anybody have anything that, Mary Beth, Chelsey, do you have anybody that's doing that? Mary Beth, wait a minute.
I liked First Integrity always sends some really cool things. So I just usually, Joanne Dunbar will send me what their thing is and I'm like, great. And then I'll send it to my database.
I like send out cards, and Jim Franklin said Mark Cruz uses somebody and he didn't know who. Mark uses send out cards as well. Send out is like specifically for like birthday cards, anniversary cards, and they'll take a template of your handwriting and you can actually, like, you can set up all your cards at the beginning of the year and you can like customize a message for each one. So it literally looks like you sat down and wrote a card and stuck a stamp on it and put it on. And you can set it all up in January. You just need to, like, if something changes during the year with that person, you need to go in and so that you don't say something that's, wildly inappropriate. Like, hope your mom's doing well when she passed away in March or something. But yeah, it's a great thing because they're very personalized and it's completely automated. And I had gotten away from it. And that's one of the things I'd like to get back to.
Okay, sorry, Chelsey, keep going.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I think, so now things have changed because people really love to feel the homes and sniff the homes, and because with the new build, it's going to be brand new. So with the resale, it's become really hard. And I do a lot of out-of-state marketing, capturing people moving into the state, just because we're one of the fastest growing states. So I'm pretty used to like video walkthrough homes and saying, oh God, the carpet's so bad here. You're going to have to replace this right away. Do you like the layout? But now I physically can't do that. So getting okay with sellers doing those walkthroughs on my behalf, but I've still been able to get homes under contract. It's just changed how we're getting them under contract. And then just making sure like your listing agreements are really good so that they don't weasel you out of the deal somehow. So, because I mean, that can happen. But yeah, you're just gonna have to be okay. Like we're all gonna have to really work together because usually buyers and sellers don't see each other until the closing table. But now it's like, hey, do you mind FaceTiming my client so that, they forgot how big the pantry is and we can't go back, or, getting measurements for XYZ. But people who need homes still need homes. So it's like, we have to remember we're in the hospitality industry and like, how can I help you get this done? Like I physically can't go, but like maybe somebody else can go, or maybe I can wear a mask, or maybe somebody's okay with you know, and then making sure somebody's really serious about going under contract. So let's get you under contract, and then we're allowed to go see the property. And I'm only the one allowed to touch everything. Here's all hand sanitizers, and I always carry gloves and masks and everything with me to get through this odd time. So like, if you're able to be out and about, not business per usual, but like make sure you hit every possible avenue to not go to the property, and then once you go, make sure you're super safe and following all the protocols and not spreading this wild thing.
Have you guys done, so Chelsey, you kind of alluded to this, and Mary Beth, I know that you've had a couple of listings and a couple of things go under contract. Have you guys done virtual presentations? Have you done virtual showings? Tell us about that. Chelsey, why don't you go?
Yeah, it's just the same. So we've got all this great technology. So we'll set up FaceTime or Zoom, or I always start with a bomb video so it puts a face to the name. So now even more so, just starting out with a bomb and then following up with a Zoom chat. But yeah, we've had sellers walk us through their property and back up. I can't see this. Can we take a look at this? You know, yeah, it's been very interesting, but everybody understands it and we're all in the same boat. It's not like I'm the only person doing this. So, and yeah, we just have to stay safe. But yes, I've been doing that.
I did one, I've only done one, well, I did one walkthrough for a client back when we could still do showings. I went in and I did the walkthrough. And then I did one where my buyer and I, the listing agent went in, who was an alliance agent from another office who was wonderful, did the walkthrough. I'm all under contract now. I've got some buyers who are on hold and some listings who are on hold, and I have had no one new come along. So I haven't had to do like a new listing presentation or anything like that. But yeah, it works well just to have somebody with the phone going around and yeah, back up and can you look up and is that a popcorn ceiling? And it's really, I mean, the only thing you really miss is smells. I keep saying we need a new field in the MLS for odors.
We do. That's funny.
Okay, so you kind of addressed this a little bit at the beginning, both of you, about a daily routine, because I'm gathering for both of you, Chelsey, with 3 kids, you can't really have a daily routine. Mary, your routine went by the wayside. Mary Beth, have you gotten back to a daily routine?
I have a pretty good routine now. I get up, I pray, I eat breakfast, and then I sit down at the desk. And I mean, I'm alone, so I have a real advantage, I guess. Doesn't feel like an advantage sometimes, but and the current clients, because I've got 3 under contract now, that's the first priority. And then once that's done, I've got a couple of projects I'm working on. One is to qualify clients day. And other is I'm working on, I want to have like a little document to send out for each area, each phase of the transaction, so that I'm not just relying on my conversations with them to get across everything they need to know. Like, okay, this is inspection time. So here's what's going to happen. And here's what you need to remember. And I'm doing it A, so that I don't forget to tell them anything. And B, it seems like good protection in case I've got, knock on wood, God forbid, I haven't been sued yet. But if you've got a system in place that says I tell everybody the same thing at the same time in the same stage. So I'm working on those. Yeah, and I've got my outline so far. So I did that.
Not to pick on you, Mary Beth, but I know on that last one, that piece that you're doing, did you set a timeline deadline for yourself?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, because I think it's good to have the projects, guys, but you also got to attach a deadline.
Well, I was forced by Chris Rattay, who gave us all the work last Friday.
Yes, you were. Okay, Chelsey.
Yeah, my routine is I don't really have a routine. I just work off lists, and I just have like notebooks of just like honey-do lists for myself. So as long as it gets done in a day, then I've been like productive. So I mean, I prefer my 6 a.m. workouts, but it's been like 8 o'clock at night now, but it gets done. So yeah, it's I guess adding to the list has just been like staying up to date on like what the virus is doing, because it's a huge talking point, obviously, and then how it's affecting our industry. Because I mean, when the weather was so great this past week, all of our neighbors had like a distancing fear, like all of our driveways, and every one of them, there was probably like 20 that stopped through different couples were, Chelsey, how's the market? What are things doing? And like, and I was like on repeat. I just should have like grabbed a megaphone and have to like repeat myself, but like people love to talk about it. We've been talking about a recession for a while now, but this one to me isn't real estate related. So it's like getting people comfortable that like interest rates are the lowest they've been in 8 years. So like once we get through this, it's still a really great time to buy. Colorado's still an excellent economy. So just like taking their fears and managing them. So that's just been an extra thing added to the list of helping people just like be okay, because it's a fearful time, but it's like, we can't control this. We're all in the same thing. And real estate, I mean, practice what we're preaching here, is an excellent investment. And if property values decrease a little bit, they're going to go back up because it's an appreciating asset. So like getting people to like just be okay with real estate in general and helping our industry out a little bit.
I've one more thing. I've been reaching out to that's excellent. Thanks. I've been reaching out to my buyers and telling them that I see an opportunity here, because I've got so many buyers who are so frustrated that they can't get anything because it's multiple offers, multiple offers, multiple offers. Well, with this new system, the 3 that I put under contract last week, there was not one multiple offer. We were the 2 that were my buyers. We were the only offer. For the one that was my listing, we only got 1 offer. And if you're okay with this system where we do the online showing, where we, you don't actually get a walk in, and then you've got the 24-hour contingency in the contract that you've got 24 hours to walk through. If you're okay with that, there's an opportunity here, because there are a lot of people who aren't okay with that. So there's going to be less competition for the properties right now. Yeah. So I've reached out to all my buyers and told them that. And so far, nobody's jumping on it, but I think it's a good opportunity.
And on the builder front, though, I just got a Richmond home under contract, and our sales rep was telling us when they lift this stay-at-home order, Richmond's raising all their base prices. And it's not the first builder I've heard doing this. So it's like, yeah, you're right. Get comfortable right now. I mean, there's the resort of the builder options, but it's going to get more expensive. So, I mean, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think that, really the opportunity is not only for your buyers, but yourselves as well. One of our agents the other day actually sent me an email. She just took 2 new listings, and she says, I love that there's no competition. Mm-hmm. So what a great mindset right now. Yeah. It's a great way to approach this, because you do have opportunities. Mr. Buston, let's see. What have you got there? Is that Cheryl or Bob Buston that raised his hand? Bob. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a question. Okay, so we've got 3 listings. And one house is vacant. There's nobody in it. And then we got another one there is. How do we, my understanding is that we cannot go into those houses ourselves.
Correct.
So as far as when you're saying a FaceTime showing, which we do that kind of stuff too all the time, because we work with out-of-state buyers. So does the seller have to do the showing, or if it's our listing and we walk into that house, that vacant house in this case, and do a showing? And what about if we have a buyer who calls us and says, hey, I found a listing, it could be one of your listings, and we sure would like to see that house. Then we call the listing agent, I would assume, to try to arrange some kind of a showing. Now, can that listing agent go in there, or do they have to say, wait a minute, I need to contact my seller to make sure they've got an iPhone or whatever, and they show it? How does this work?
We have two supervising brokers on this call, and I've unmuted both of them. Heidi, do you want to address that?
I don't think that any showings at all are permissible at this time. And I've even heard that there's $1,000 fine if you are caught doing a showing. And so the order states that we're only supposed to be working on business that is currently under contract. And so people have been able to get their properties under contract based on the virtual tours. The order also allows the pre-closing walkthrough, which you would also assume that they should be able to do a pre-inspection walkthrough to make sure they hire the right inspectors to get the job done. But you're not going to be there as the selling agent to manage that inspection. And actually, the Real Estate Commission never wanted you to be there in the first place. So that really isn't that different. But it does give you an opportunity to get your property under contract, and the buyer still has the opportunity to see that property during the inspection period and to cancel. And that is important because I think the whole point of not having showings is not having people going from house to house to house spreading the virus, as we did see some of that happening. So I would in no way ever refer to that pre-inspection as a showing in any way, and I do not think that you should be in the house with them at that time. I think that you should, and they do a pre-inspection visit to the property. I think it should be the inspector and maybe one buyer. That's it. And if the inspector, if they're going without the inspector, I think you should arrange to meet. You can have the buyer go to the property, you do not go in, you do not be a part of this, and then the buyer goes in, does their pre-inspection walkthrough with the seller that is arranged to the seller. That is the only way that I can see that it has been able to be done.
Okay, well, that, with all due respect, that really is not my question. My question is, I mean, I understand that it's if someone wants to see a house, are we going to have to, and I understand you can put them under contract and then they can back out. I mean, that's one way to do it. But how can someone see a house, a listing, before they write a contract?
The only way, Bob, they can't. The only way they can see.
The seller can't do it? The seller
virtually.
Walk them through?
Virtually. No.
The seller only virtually, because the order only allows us to work on business that's under contract.
Mary Beth. Mary Beth.
Does not make sense.
And if I'm understanding correctly, the question is, okay, so if a seller can walk a buyer through virtually with their phone, what do you do with the vacant? Because there's no seller there to walk it through.
Seller is, you've got a listing. The seller has an iPhone, you know, it seems like everybody does these days. You call up your seller and say, we got someone really interested in your house. I can't come in. No, you know, no real estate agent can come in prior to a contract. We've got a virtual tour, got good pictures, but still not good enough. They really would like to walk through. I don't see any reason why that seller cannot. We gotta have rights here as individuals. If that was my house and I was the seller and you told me I can't do a FaceTime with somebody, I mean, I think they can.
You can do the FaceTime.
I don't see why they couldn't.
I don't either. That was the question. So why couldn't your seller, if they're willing to do it, do the walkthrough? As crazy as that sounds, I see that as our only legal.
And you're talking about on FaceTime, correct?
Yeah.
FaceTime, whatever. I don't care what it is. They can get on the phone and talk.
It's virtual. It's virtual.
Virtual.
Yeah. But you and I, we all know that there are showings going on out there. People are doing it. Listing agents are letting people in. It's happening. I frankly don't blame them, but I'm not going to do it. I could get on a tear here, so I'm not going to do it. But
No, Bob. Okay, I'll mute you. I'll mute you if you go on a tear.
Well, my feeling is this is not hurting too many real estate agents. I think probably most people on this call are just fine. And I agree with Chelsea. The opportunity here is unbelievable. I think we're going to come out of this thing better. The people that are getting hurt are the buyers and sellers, not the real estate agents. We have buyers out here who have sold their house in Dallas or Los Angeles or whatever. They are going to be homeless because they can't figure out a way to buy a house because they can't go see them. It's not hurting them. We'll get through it.
Well, and this is Kim. You know, one thing that I'd say, and Bill Goldberg, I know, is on this call as well. And I'm going to unmute you all for a short minute here. So Beth and I, my husband and I, bought a house sight unseen. So did Bill Goldberg and his wife. I think that when people really need to purchase a house, a lot of times if the virtual stuff is good, that you can buy a house sight unseen. Jan Reinhardt, can you kind of like tag in? And by the way, I think on another chat way up was the question about appraisals. Christina Coder had talked about watching legal bits from yesterday regarding how to get a buyer under contract. Okay, Jan. Where'd she go? Jan. Yeah, she's not there.
Can I ask a quick question? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Simply put, along the lines of the last conversation, if the property is vacant, can I enter the property and do a walkthrough for a buyer that is located somewhere else?
No.
No, technically, okay.
Okay, well, gee, that was fun. So back to Mary Beth and Chelsea, and I've got.
I have one other approach about talking about making sight unseen offers. When talking to your clients, you can take the investor mindset. I own over 30 homes and I've only seen like 5 of them. And you could just send it like, here are the comps, here are the areas, what's nearby, here's why this is a good investment. And then just take the investor mindset. And most people only stay in their homes 5 to 7 years anyway, statistically. So you need to find a home. Here's why I think this is going to sell really great or really quickly within the next 5 to 7, by the time you're ready for your next one. But running numbers for them, because people feel really comfortable with numbers and statistics and yeah, the stats. Take the emotion out of it.
Managing brokers on the line, tell me if I'm incorrect. This is my understanding as to the best way to do a sale in this market is to do all the virtual, as much virtual as you can. And then if they feel like they want it, you put in the contract a 24-hour contingency that says once we're under contract, we have the right to walk the property, because then it becomes a walkthrough, which is allowed. And then if in that 24-hour contingency, they don't want the house, then they terminate. Is that in keep, are we good with Dora if we're doing it that way? Because that seems at least relatively low risk on both sides, because I mean, if you do the walkthrough really fast, you don't have to mark it under contract before you've done the walkthrough. You don't have to exchange earnest money before you've done the walkthrough.
Well,
so that's.
Yes, Mary Beth, this is Jan.
Hi, Jan.
That's why I couldn't unmute you, Jan.
Yeah.
You can't do that to me. Thank you.
I'm back to owner's iPad again, Jim, or Kim. I had to jump out. I don't know. Regardless.
Okay.
So yes, per Scott Peterson and Damian Cox and everybody else that I've talked to in regard to this, what MB just said is absolutely correct. I've had numerous offers written during this time by agents in the office where it's in the additional provisions. They write it sight unseen, 24 hours to 24. So a buyer has 24 hours to terminate the contract after they physically view the property.
Oh, 20, okay, good.
Or inspect.
And Bob, I was trying to get to you, and the seller can do whatever the seller wants. It's their house. I agree with you, absolutely. If I'm comfortable having somebody in my house that I don't know and I want to walk them through, that's up to them. It's the seller's decision totally. So we can't tell the sellers what to do. Commission doesn't control the sellers. So, you know, if the buyers want to go out and do it, they're the ones who are at risk for the fine. But, you know, we can't control that piece of it. So
Jan, while you were on, there were some questions about appraisals.
Appraisers are essential. They can go do whatever they need to do.
And a seller can object to appraiser entering, is that correct?
Well, only if they want to be in,
Violation?
yeah, they're going against the contract.
Default.
Default. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks, Heidi.
but, you know, they shouldn't have accepted the offer then.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Back to some of the things that these guys are doing to keep their business going. How are you? I noticed that you're doing, and thank you for sharing all of the information on the sign about send out cards. You know, I'm going to save this chat too, so I can send you guys a transcript so you have all of this information out there. What other ways are you staying connected with your clients? Are you, Mary Beth, you said you were calling each day. Chelsey, what are you doing to stay connected?
I've been trying to work on my blog posts more because I just film them and send them out. I don't physically write them because it's easier for people just to watch, and then I just send it out to my sphere and people in my CRM and post it on social media. I haven't been very good at physically calling people, but I'm adding that to my list of things to do because people like phone calls.
Yeah, and just a reminder, your Homes in Colorado website has a new edition that is a blog that you can add a blog onto your Homes in Colorado website as well. Mary Beth Bonacci.
Yes.
What are you doing to reach out to your peeps?
I'm, as I said,
Contract.
calling or texting or, you know, however our relationship has been. I did a mass email as soon as all this started. Remember when every email you got was COVID? It's still kind of like that, COVID this and COVID that. I sent out not your average COVID email was the subject line. Basically, and this is, I think, the key to any reaching out to people right now. It's not about trying to buy and sell real estate. It's how are you? And that was my email that I just sent out that just kind of said, you know, a little bit about how real estate's going, but basically I want to know how you're doing, and I want you to know that I'm available, that I can run out and get groceries. If you're in trouble, call me. And, you know, I was surprised at how much I had. One person in my sphere, a friend from high school, posted on Facebook, just you are awesome, just for sending that. So I'm doing that. Obviously with my buyers and sellers, we're in touch on a regular basis with the latest updates. So yeah, and once I finish these two projects, the blog is my next, is migrating my blog over to our blog and then updating it.
I just had on the message, and Bill, I'm gonna unmute you for a second. So Bill Goldberg is president of HMA. Bill, do you want to add to that appraiser portion there?
Yeah, I've been listening, and hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hope
Bill.
you're all doing well. Yeah, I just want you all to know that we actually, we are required to order a full appraisal on conventional loans. New construction absolutely have to have a full appraisal. If the seller for some reason does refuse the appraiser, we do have some alternatives that Fannie and Freddie have allowed temporarily to do basically a drive-by desktop appraisal. But we only will do that if it is requested, and we are required to honor that. So I just wanted to point that out. I can get some information out to you guys, out to Kim to distribute on what that looks like, but I just wanted to point that out.
The loan officer would know about that information.
Yes, absolutely. They've gotten all that information.
Connect with your loan officers, guys, on that particular Fannie Freddie, because that's a pretty cool thing. So yeah. Okay. Back to Chelsey and Mary Beth. So here's a question for you, and I know it's a big question because you have to remember. And not so good anymore. So in November, we had Power Summit, right? And both of you were up as panelists and sharing ideas on what you were doing. If you can remember what you shared, that's the hard part. What are you doing differently? What are you still doing the same? And what, if anything, have you just thrown out the window? Mary Beth?
I'm trying, I don't remember a lot of, the main thing I remember what I said was to actually be the person who cares about people and not the person who's salesing them. I listened to a Sell with Soul podcast this morning, and I remember I talked about Ford and how the asking about family, occupation, recreation, and the D that I can never remember, that I guess is dreams. I thought it was divorce because I couldn't think of it. But blatantly Ford, she was talking about, when you're being Forded, when somebody's being very transparent and how's your job? How's your dream? And in it. And being the person who sincerely cares about people. I mean, this is the time to do that. And that's the one thing I remember that I talked about. And that's the one thing I know I'm doing right now is I'm reaching out to people that I have no prayer of business with. I don't care. I'm doing it because I sincerely care about them. I'm sincerely looking out for them. Nobody is going to want to be salesed right now. Yeah. Nobody wants business as usual. Nobody wants, if you have anybody to buy and sell real estate, please. It's like, we're in a crisis. So I'm doing what I always do, which is really legitimately caring about them and bringing legitimate sincerity to everything I do. And this is, there's no better time to be doing that because people need it right now.
Chelsey?
Yeah, probably a lot of the same. I was listening to a Bigger Pockets yesterday, and I think my mindset has shifted a little bit because the most successful people have multiple streamlines of income, and I preach over and over and post all the time that I invest, I flip, and I have a real estate team to help you buy and sell. And I've just been, if I can't be out showing, I mean, I could be at, my project by DU playing Kyle, or, and then just, I don't know, just kind of practicing what I preach, because I really think people need to own as much real estate as possible. So it's like, hey, I know it's a down market. Here's how my mindset has shifted, and we're rolling with punches here, and I'm still buying properties. And I think it's, just kind of like being an example, and reaching out to people too. But people have lost their jobs, so it's hard to like keep reaching out to people being like, sorry, you're furloughed, but in 2 months, you ready to go again? It's, being sympathetic, and I'm so sorry, please let me know if I can help you with anything. By the way, the market's so great. But not being salesy. I mean, you're going to lose every friendship you have as soon as you start to sell them on something.
Right.
But
one of the comments from yesterday, I don't know how many of you guys were on yesterday, but I thought it was well stated from John DeWitt, was, make calls and have them be authentic and genuine. He was on this mission. He was going to make all these phone calls, and then he realized that he was doing a disservice to himself and to the person he was speaking with, and he limited his calls because he really wanted it to be a conversation and a dialogue, and he wanted it to be authentic and real, and not just pick up the phone and call, which is, I think that was a huge takeaway for me when I was listening yesterday. Couple of things. Jim Franklin. Jim, I think I've unmuted you if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Kim. And Bill, thanks for answering the appraisal question. But my question really is, we're dealing with healthcare workers. My wife is a nurse currently at a hospital. Bringing people into our house. I've disclosed it to all the realtors. We're selling our house currently. We are under contract. But bringing these people into my house, knowing that my wife works in a hospital setting, she is working with COVID patients. What risk are there? What are you guys telling the inspectors, the other real estate agents, the appraisers? What's going on out there?
Any comments, Mary Beth?
I don't know.
Jan, Jan, Heidi, I've unmuted you. Well, Heidi, I can't get you unmuted. I'm sorry. Jan,
Yeah.
there, Heidi, you're unmuted.
Sure.
I'm personally just not trying to be an expert in something I don't know. So I just regurgitate what I hear, and then just really try to be as far away and try to avoid, showings at all costs. But at the same time, if we have to go to, for the reasons that if you're under contract or whatnot, but I mean, just.
So Jim, I think what you need to do is just be transparent of your conditions. And I would put it in writing and send it to the people before they come out to your house, letting them know that your wife is a nurse and she's still working and they're at risk. There was the verbiage that came out earlier this week to be added to listing contracts. I think I would modify that, use that, and just use it as a disclosure to everybody. And that way, you know, you've told them and you've protected yourself.
I totally agree with that. And also I've had a couple of our agents that have used the form we were using before when we were able to do showings. So when somebody was coming into their house, they're still using that form to answer those questions for anybody that is coming into their house.
Bill, I have you unmuted. Unmute you. There's a couple of comments about, you know, it'd be good to hear from HMA with lending updates, which I think wouldn't be a bad Zoom meeting if you could do it. And then you wanted to make a comment as well.
Yeah, it's related, but you know, related to Jim's comment about first responders. Earlier this week, and hopefully you're all getting information from your loan officer, but we are running a first responder $1,000 off of cost, I guess you could say, you know, special during this COVID crisis. And so I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Obviously a very important thing to do, and our contribution to those people who are really important in fighting this and are dealing with it on the front lines every day. So I wanted to point that out. As far as a Zoom meeting on mortgage updates, I'm more than happy to put something together around that. I think the big thing, just very briefly, that we're running into, there's not, the main changes we've seen in the mortgage space have to do with constricting guidelines. And there's a lot to this topic. I can go down the rabbit hole very quickly with it, but I won't. But I'll just say that the main thing we're concerned with and that we're really trying to look at is people who are impacted, their jobs being impacted, their stream of income being impacted in a negative fashion based on, you know, the current economic environment. So the biggest changes that have been made have to do with verifications of employment, and they're now taking place both 3 days out from closing and also 1 day before funding. So, you know, that's the main thing. If someone is negatively impacted by the crisis, their income is negatively impacted, we're going to find out. And unfortunately, we are in a position where we have to have saleable loans to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so that's our biggest challenge that we're facing right now. There's a lot of reasons for it, and I'd be glad to do a Zoom call or something to get into the details of that, but that's the main thing.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Debbie Taylor asked, she saw something about fogging a house for bacteria. Wow, Deb. And has anybody heard of that? Have they, Debbie, I'm going to unmute you so that you can explain what you saw here. If I could unmute you, it would be great. Can you unmute yourself? That would be helpful because I can't unmute you.
There we go.
There you go.
I saw something on, I think it was 9 News this morning about fogging a house. They were doing 1,000 square foot marijuana. They were actually doing a marijuana provider. But with that said, I'm wondering if that's something that if we have known cases of, you know, COVID, if we should recommend up front, just so it's another layer of protection. If, you know, people come in and they say, well, you know, this is a known case in our neighborhood, whatever it may be, that, you know, we have done that, but I don't know the cost on it. And I'm wondering if anybody else does.
Debbie, does the fog, you said fogging for bacteria, this is a virus. Does it cover both?
Oh, I guess they were saying bacteria. I don't know. They were saying whatever it was covering. I thought they said bacteria, but it must be virus too. Because I can't remember the name of the marijuana shop. They get about 500 people in there a day. And so they're doing that as preventative. And the guy that was speaking for the company, and I'll have to look it up, was saying that they're really busy right now doing this particular type of fogging, whatever it is. And they were showing it where they're wearing these masks and this fog stuff. So it must be viral also. And I probably just put bacteria by just trying to remember the segment. I don't know if anybody else saw it or not.
There's some
I saw it. Yeah.
And I think, it's easy to go down, as Bill had mentioned, go down the rabbit hole. I mean, one of the things that I've done just personally, guys, I've limited what I see or what I listen to. So many dang opinions out there. There's so much cross-purposing of opinions, and, I just don't want to hear it. It's not that I'm sticking my head in the sand by any means. However, I think you have to be careful about information overload from the media, because we will all suffer from it if that's what
I
we
think this is legit, though.
ingest, then that's all we're going to hear.
Well, I don't know. Kim, I think this is pretty legit. I think that this is going to be an issue moving forward.
Not
And I think
saying
that's why
that.
these companies
Not
are so
saying-
busy. I'm just wondering on costs, and if somebody does ask us, what is the cost on that? And I don't know the answer. And that's why
Yeah,
I
and I
posted
think
the
I wasn't saying about that. I said somebody was very entrepreneurial, which I'm like real happy of. But I think that, from an overall standpoint, just being careful about seeing too much information. So, okay, Mary Beth and Chelsea, back to you. Okay, so if you had one great idea that you were going to give these folks during this time about, being prepared, when Chelsea, you mentioned this is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of people. How is that going to look? What are we going to do? What would be, in preparation, your one big idea?
Oh my goodness.
I know, right?
One big idea, I guess, and get all the rest you can right now, because I truly feel like it's going to be such a busy summer. And if it's not this summer, it's going to be such a busy fall. So that's not advice at all. Let me think about this.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. It's just, use this time to get your ducks in a row and to get your systems in place, so that when we get busy, if you want to have an improved listing package, you've got it. If you want to have, because when we get busy, you're not going to have time anymore to be saying, oh, I've been wanting to revamp my listing package, or I've been wanting to have all these videos or whatever you feel like you're going to need to have when you get busy. That's what you're working on now, that and keeping in touch with your peeps.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from the group? Yeah, I'm gonna mute you guys. Now's your chance. Don't all talk at once, please. Anything else? Anything you want to contribute? Any ideas that you're doing? Behind your green mask, what are you doing up there in Fort Collins that is working for you?
Armgill.
He's staying in his green mask everywhere he goes.
Is he?
Yes. Oh, Randy Ewing.
That's right.
Yeah, you changed your background to my background. Cool. What are you doing? Christina, what are you doing?
I'm cleaning up my space. I am learning all of Remax's technology. I'm trying to do videos to my clients and to my social media. Getting all my every way I possibly can, and then making phone calls to my past clients that I haven't been in contact with for a while. Just checking.
Patrick, raise your hand.
So I'm a super new guy. My first closing is actually at the end of the month, and I'm just yeah, it's a 10
Patrick.
So it's 2. And I'm curious, I know some of you guys were through the 2008 thing and some other downturns, crazy situations, and I'm curious, and there's all sorts of information you guys have been sharing about how to get prepared, and I agree with everybody that it's going to be, once the doors open, it's going to be nuts. Anything specific for a new greenhorn guy, or just all kind of the same information, I would guess, for as order what I can be doing to be proactive now?
Yeah, that's, get your database together.
Okay.
And get your systems, what presentations, whatever you're doing.
Okay. I've been making videos and sending them out to people, and not real estate related. It's
Hang on.
Anyways, I'll try to.
You know, one thing, those of you who might be afraid of video, we were on a little call. Look up a program called Doodly, Doodly. Yes, we're all getting the echo now. It's stopped. So look up Doodly because it's not your face on the screen, but it's still a video, and it's very inexpensive right now. It's like $67 forever, guys. It's not even a contractual thing. So I think the other thing to remember, and it was brought up in chat here, take advantage of the classes on RE/MAX University. Think about getting certifications in education. Always a good time to be doing it right now because you've got, now those of you who are homeschooling, maybe you don't have the quiet time to do that. God bless you if you're homeschooling. This is what I have to say to all of you. But I do think that we do have opportunity right now to be able to move forward and plan for future. Jim, can you add more on your thing? What is, Doodly, Doodly is, I believe, is the website or the program. So it's not like your face on there. You can hear your voice. So it's still a video that you're being able to give information on. So it does work. I think some important things that I've learned from these two sessions so far that we've done, and thank you, Chelsey and Mary Beth, for sharing and being open, and for everybody on here in asking questions and being open. But I will say that you know, doing these meetings, I think, are important. I think what we've learned from them is that everybody has a different way, but everybody has remained positive, which is also important. For me personally, and my central office, people have heard me say this ad nauseum, continue to have perspective about where we are. You know, there are people, we have an agent who used to be with us up in northern Colorado. He's a young man, guys. And he's in the hospital on a ventilator, and he has family, kids, and he's been on a ventilator for a week already. So, you know, it's keeping in perspective where we are and what people are dealing with. Do I think that, you know, we have a lot of blessings in our lives? We do. So anybody else have anything that they want to Nothing? Okay. So the next, Bob. Go ahead.
I got something.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we have an echo. Don't know why, but we're all just going to deal with it. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I'm sure everyone is aware of this PPP, payroll protection program.
Yeah.
If you have not applied for that, you need to.
Yep.
I mean, it's real.
Yep.
So,
How real is it, Mary Beth?
I was approved. I got my email that I was approved for it the other day. So I'm watching. They had to go through apparently and verify the documents that I had sent. But you know, once that happens, then I guess it's gonna show up in my bank account. I'm watching for it.
Yeah, you know, it's I'm using First Bank. They've got a great job, and
Hold on a second.
I'm sorry, it's free money.
Yeah, and I think you guys have to pay attention to those things. There's not only the PPP, there's unemployment. The grant changed. The grant was 10,000, and now it's 1,000.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's, you know, we're all going to get through this, and we have to recognize, and it's part of the perspective. This is short term. This isn't long term. This is a short term situation that we're in. Feels like forever. I will say that. It does feel like forever, but it is short term. So anything else for the good of the group? Okay, so I hope that you all have a fabulous day. Congratulations, Patrick, on your first closing. That is so exciting for us.
Don't jinx it.
Next week, these sessions are Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We'll be sending out the links in the Zoom, so keep your eyes and ears open. And have a fantastic Thursday, guys.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Bye.